Johnson knows that Ms. Beller believed in him and cared for him and wished that he got home safely, and actually refused to shut the door as the three gunmen ran in, bombarded the wine bar. She refused to lock the door because she would not allow Mr. Johnson to, be subject to, these three individuals, without her protection, without her trying to save and be the hero for him. And ultimately, because of her, he lived and she died. So I say all that to say that there's a factual basis for every count in the indictment as it pertains to Mr. Jones.
One last thing, Your Honor, just because I know Mr. Abadi had mentioned that my client, that Mr. Jones, had called Carlos Bailey after, I guess, the three other co-defendants had fled the Barcelona. What he did not mention was that Carlos Bailey proceeded to call Terry Jones 8 or 9 times, that Dante Furlow says that Mr. Bailey said that Terry didn't answer his phone. Terry's in the area, could have picked them up, did not answer his phone and did not pick them up, which caused them to then leave their masks. I mean, he did not act as a getaway driver and never intended to once he knew what happened, if that makes. I'm just being honest with Your Honor. That
Your words, once he knew what happened, then do not absolve him.
Well, no, they don't absolve him. I'm just telling you, he did not help them flee the area. And as a result, he
split the proceeds.
Well, I also don't, why would they give him the proceeds if he didn't help them get away? And I don't believe
because he got them there.
Because he drove them there.
Because he was a co-conspirator, and that's why.
Yeah.
That's why you split the proceeds, is when you're all in it together.
Yes.
Yes. Go ahead. You can continue.
Well, I was just trying to clarify what the state had said.
Go ahead,
so
go ahead.
I wasn't trying to anger you.
No, go ahead. I'm saying you said, why would they split the proceeds with him?
Well, I know he did receive money. But he did not receive, I don't know how much they got. He said $2,700. It's really neither here nor there. But he was not an active participant in getting the money, and they didn't give him money as if he was, is what I'm telling Your Honor.
Okay, I understand.
In the same way they didn't give the driver who drove them away.
I understand. Is there anything further?
I don't believe so, Your Honor, except
Okay.
I'm just asking for him to get, I understand what happened here. I understand it's incredibly serious, and that's why 3 co-defendants are, spending 30-year life in prison. And I'm just asking for individual consideration for Mr. Jones.
I believe that the state's recommendation of 15 years does take into account that individual consideration, that Mr. Jones did not actively engage in the crimes as they were being committed inside the Barcelona wine bar, and that he obviously was not a participant to the carjacking or the other crimes committed after Mr. Ott, Mr. Williams, and Mr. Bailey fled the scene after killing Miss Bella. I understand that he was not actively involved in those crimes, and that takes into account the state's recommendation of 15 years. But if you look at his actions prior to the crime and his actions after the crime, which is what the law permits when assessing the guilt of a co-conspirator, his actions after the crime reflect that he was a participant in these offenses. And that, to me, is what indicates that 15 years is absolutely appropriate in this case. If that hadn't happened, I might consider something different. If he hadn't gone back and shared in the proceeds, he might be able to stand up here with a straight face and say that he didn't know what they were planning, but not when you go back afterwards and you split the proceeds. So therefore, Mr. Jones, the sentence of the court as to count 3 Felony murder reduced to voluntary manslaughter, it's going to be 15 years. Counts 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 are going to be vacated by operation of law. Count 12, 15 years, and all counts will be concurrent. Count 13, 15 years concurrent. Counts 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18, 15 years concurrent. Count 19, kidnapping, 15 years concurrent. Count 20 will merge into 19 for the purpose of sentencing. Count 21, 22, 23, and 24, 10 years for the purposes, 10 years concurrent. Count 25, 5 years concurrent. Count 26, 15 years concurrent. Mr. Jones, do you understand the sentence?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Jones, you are receiving individual consideration, exactly what your attorney asked for. The state has given you by acknowledging the fact that even if you knew what was happening, you were not actually in that restaurant committing these crimes. And even though you shared in the proceeds as a result of these crimes, you are receiving a shorter sentence. But the law takes into account your actions before and after a crime. And therefore, because you were a party to everything that did occur in that restaurant, even if you weren't there, 15 years is the appropriate sentence. It's going to be the sentence of the court. I hope that when you get out as well, you are also able to be a productive member of society. You're able to learn and grow from this, and that you are able to stay out of the criminal justice system once you are released. All right. Thank you, Mr. Jones. All right, Mr. Mr. Body, is there anything else that needs to be taken up on the record? Okay. He said no. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, both on Zoom and in the audience. I understand this is an emotional case. I understand that these cases are always difficult on both sides. And so I appreciate everyone's respect for the court and professionalism here inside the courtroom. Court is now adjourned. Thank you.